Welcome to the Sydney Property Muppets podcast. My name is Kurt Lawther. I'm the real estate agent, and with me forever is...
Well, you're stuck with me, Chris, the buyer's agent.
Oh, Chris, always lovely to have you here in your place.
I'm really enjoying this series of exclusive series on a buyer's negotiation journey. This is number 3 in the... But you don't have to listen to an order, but this is number 3. And today we're going to focus on...
Before auction. So
Before auction. What do you mean before auction?
before auction, so negotiating before auction, sort of the points we're going to...
Fun stuff.
Yes, the fun stuff. So why is a seller or agent prepared to sell pre-auction? So first point is going to be about other buyers. Second point is the vendor desperate? The third point is, does the agent want a quick sale?
Yep.
And then a couple of other points we'll touch on: a 66W and properties purchased pre-auction typically going over, according to Chris.
Yeah. I just stuck on 66W. Always makes me think of Star Wars Order 66.
I've never seen Star Wars, so...
Oh my God. I think I done. All right, so first point, why is a seller prepared to sell before an auction? What's some characteristics? Is it typically there's other buyers? Typically there's no other buyers?
So we'll say there is buyers beforehand.
Yeah, so why wouldn't you wait to the auction?
Probably multiple factors. You've got to take into account your property. So if your property is on a main road, if there is some faults about it, and it's been let known to the buyers, but the buyers still want it, you probably still don't want that lingering too long, because it could still be perfectly fine, but we're all humans and we start to build up doubts.
Yep.
So that might be something why you want to go early.
True. I had one, actually, we didn't talk about this before, but I had one where the agent had guided what was probably thought to be a reasonable price. It was a bespoke property over in Putney, guiding like 3.7. Ended up selling at auction above 4.4. We actually secured auction. We did a pre-auction offer of a significant number between those 2 points, so somewhere between that 700k mark and quite sizable, and was rejected. And you go, geez, we're offering like a significant amount. But I think what he could see as an agent was he hadn't lowered the guide price, but just because it hadn't been anything similar for so long, all these buyers are coming out of the woodwork, and he was like, I'm in a great position to go to the auction. So you just don't know what's going on.
And that's where the agent earns their craft, because I don't think a lot of people realise the pressure on the agent. It's very easy once a sale's done and the sale's gone through and it's over the price or wherever it is, but making that decision because you run the risk if you do end up going to auction and you've had all this interest, was it best to sell it beforehand? We had one in Edinburgh Road that sold a couple of years ago, where we were guiding 3.7. The house was dilapidated. I can't even say that word. And we were guiding 3.7. Nothing could be built in front of it. We had so much interest. We were like, damn it, we needed to move the guide up. We moved it up to 4.1.
Yeah.
We still had interest, and it's like, do we secure it now? Do we not? The vendor's expectation now had grown to, we were trying to contain it because it was just being like, look, we don't want to disappoint you or get your emotions over. They were still probably another $500,000 long now because of all the excitement that had happened. We still then was like, no, do you know what? We are going to sort of take that little bit of a risk. And we had 17 registered bidders and someone down the front that just wanted it, wouldn't let it go. And it did end up selling for 5.3 as well.
Crazy.
Now, there's no way we could have guided 5. There's no way we could have guided...
Well, there's probably no way you could have got that offer pre-auction.
No.
Even with a couple of serious buyers, even with that serious buyers, it's the fact that when you're in an auction, let's be honest, the emotion, the people there, and they're also able to eyeball each other. We talked in the previous episode about...
We had a couple having almost a domestic on the front lawn. The whole neighbourhood was there. It was Castle Craig, one of those little niche sort of together.
So what about in the scenario you've sort of painted this picture? You've got 2 buyers, let's say one's significantly, their budgets, they've been selling enough to tell you exactly where their budgets are. You know the 2 buyers are going to come to the auction and they're quite far apart.
Yeah.
Right? So if you were to go to auction, the one's going to stop down here and the other one's got pockets up to here, but no one's going to push them up. So that seems to me pretty right for a pre-auction scenario.
So once you've learned, you're going through the campaign. I'll use this example. We sold something in Chatswood, which the owner wanted in probably the number starting with a 5
Yep.
million.
That's right.
Property was genuine value was probably around, if you sold it for 4.5 or 4.6, I think it would have been a great deal, both value for both parties.
Yep.
We ended up having someone around the 4.4-ish, someone around the 4.5, and someone up near the 4.8 mark.
Yep.
And for us to go to auction, trying to make up...
Trying to get that 4.8 to put a 4.8 auction when there's the next bid's 300k less or
Yes.
250 less is challenging.
So it's not always a position of weakness in terms of you're trying to avoid, the main road or some faults with the property. Sometimes it's the position of the buyers and where they've revealed their cards and your gut instinct that sometimes it's best. Do you know what? We need to wrap this up beforehand.
Yeah, it makes
'cause
sense,
you can't
right?
make it up at auction.
If no one's going to push them to the highest amount, but you know the amounts there, and you're also, again, we always say you are on the side of the vendor. That's who pays your fee, your salary at the end of the day. You're doing the right thing by them. But it can be, if you think about the buyer's side, geez, it's hard to know if you're in that situation. Are you the one at the lower level or are you the one at the top?
And sometimes as well, I think to help buyers as well, just say you are at the top and somehow you manage to find out you're the one that paid 100, 200 or 10%, 15%, 20% more than the
Next bidder,
the next
person.
bidder. Please know that you're not just versing the other bidders.
Yep.
You're also versing the agent and the vendor. And just say that buyer only put in 4.6 and that was going to be the top.
Yep.
They might have been like rental market.
Correct. So that next, beautiful for our next episode, actually, we're going to talk about counter offers against the vendor, exactly what you're talking about there. So in this point though, so there are times though where agents want a quick sale. Right? And I've mentioned this once or twice, maybe not strongly, but the simple way of putting it is if an agent does a full-blown 4-week, 5-week auction campaign every property, even with the best team in the world, they're probably going to sell between 40 and 50 properties each year, give or take. If they are selling prolific and they're, talk about that playbook of knowing everyone's strengths and weaknesses and what their go-to is, there are some agents who will sell 90% of their properties they will be in charge of pre-auction, pre-market, off-market. They can sell typically between 100, potentially up to 100 to 150 properties. So even if they've sold all those properties for just a little bit less, which is bad for the vendor, their commission, self-interest, they've achieved a lot more.
So we'll make a couple of notes on that. You are talking about also some of the cream of the crop, but also that's why I always speak about not to always base, if you're a potential vendor going to sell your property, on how many properties an agent is selling, because you don't know the individual circumstance of each of those properties.
Yep.
The quick sale, that's probably the one thing I very much dislike about the industry and being in the industry is when you go to some trainers and they talk about
I'm smiling because I see this, but go on.
Yeah, trying to get offers early. They always talk about, even when you're working on a property, having your lead agent or your lead generator basically trying to bring in more and more and more business, because unfortunately if you don't have business coming in, then as soon as you sell the properties, you're out of a job basically until you find. So there's this balance for agents as well, trying to be like bringing properties in and making sure properties are selling. And some agents, unfortunately, are all about just bringing as many properties in. Because Chris, what I will say as well, a lot of people don't realise 70% of the work is also done beforehand, before a property even hits the portals. The work in just getting the property ready, your marketing team, your pre-market going through, we do a 5-stage campaign. So the different stages we run through, 3 stages before we even hit globally on REA and domain. Lots of work is done there. Now, I'm very ethical and make sure we push it and get as much money out as you can.
You do that last 30%?
Last 30%. Even I joke about turning the purchases upside down and letting the coins drip out.
Which is what you're there to do. So next, following on from that, so it's probably good to capture as well, talking about, so statistically, offers done before auctions, offer accepted before auctions, statistically achieve about 5 to 10% of the market comparable on average. But it's only statistically. That does mean there are people who spend above that level
Yeah.
at a pre-auction offer, spend above. So doesn't mean just because you do a pre-auction offer, high five, you've done the greatest thing in the world and you've got it. There are times, and I've seen it before, where people have paid over and over above what would ever have been anticipated in auction, but they're high-fiving each other because they've got it, and they're going, well, if you'd gone to auction, you probably would have saved sometimes $500,000, a $5 million property or $10 million property significantly.
And it also depends where the market's up to in terms of the interest rates, how many buyers, the demand, the supply, and there's all these other factors to take into
consider.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Now, if you do purchase beforehand in Sydney, you are more than likely, and I reckon it's going to be coming around the country more and more, but at the moment in Sydney, a 66W, which basically means in a standard contract that's not for auction, there is a 5 business day cooling off period to give you a chance to think about it. However, if you were purchasing before auction,
basically will.
99 times out of...
Even higher.
Yeah, even higher.
Pretty much you're going to sign a 66W before, and depending, again, we're talking about that 10k radius from the CBD of Sydney.
To waive the cooling off period for the property.
And the 66W is basically a form from your solicitor saying you've waived those things. Every state has these. They're just not called a 66W. Only in New South Wales it's referred to as that.
Yeah.
But just something to get your head around.
And it can be used as a negotiation tactic as well, in terms of if this is after auction but before auction, basically 66W will be required.
And it is a point of maturity of a buyer, and I think an agent will gain respect of you if you're aware, and hopefully from listening and watching this podcast, you become more aware of these things. So instead of waiting for the agent to say, do you have your 6W or do you know, and you looking dumbfounded going, I don't know what you're talking about. If you lead with, and you've listened, hey, I listened to Sydney Property Mupp, it's got a great tip, and maybe you don't say that, but you go, I know, Kurt, this is 3 days in the auction. I'll obviously be doing this with a 66W. Kurt, your thought of that buyer is, I'm sure it's going to elevate, because you're like, oh, they know I'm going to swear, they know their shit.
Well, I'm not worried about having to try and, if you come to me and you don't want to put a 66W before auction, I don't take you serious.
Yeah.
Quite brutally.
100%. But my point is as well, if you say to somebody, you'll be signing with a 60W, and they look at you dumbfounded, and then you explain what it is, and they get really scared, I'm sure you think, not that you think less of them as individuals, but you probably have some alarm bells going, oh, I'm going to have to handhold, this buyer might go MIA.
Yeah. Now, even if you're the only buyer on it, because we're going to auction, we're still playing with our trump card that we're going to auction.
Yep.
When someone asks, do we have interest on the property? People coming to the property means there is interest in that property.
And the other thing, so even though it's not a 66W, at auction you are buying under 66W conditions. So if you're in that situation, you're a few days out as an agent, and you've got someone who's a bit uneducated on it, you can just say, just come to auction.
Yeah.
You don't have to sign a 66W, you don't have to get a 66W, just come and we've got you by the jugular. All right, anything else on... So jump back and forth there. I did jump forward 1 point.
No, I think that's probably a great way to round it out. That before auction, if you are going to purchase, you're going to require a 66W. Whether you buy it at auction before or after, the main thing is you've got your set price that you're going to
say.
That you got your set price. So
sometimes I think we're on a repeat. Maybe that's boring, but I think it's such a big point to hammer home that people don't do. They don't have that set price. And we see it when they go through negotiations. You see it and they're making it up as they go.
Yeah.
All right. Beautiful.
Perfect.
Nice one. Okay. So now we've been doing, end of every episode, we're going to throw up a different one today. So this is riddles.
The riddles.
The riddles. So Kurt's got 3 riddles and I'm going to have a crack at them and see if I can get them. If I get them, I get a point each.
Correct.
And vice versa, I'm going to throw it back to you. So do you want to kick us off then?
I do want to kick us off. Okay. Riddle 1. I have branches, but no fruit, trunk, or leaves. What am I? 10 seconds.
A government body?
Oh, do you know what? I'm going to give it to you. A bank.
What is it?
A bank.
Oh, bank. Oh, branches. Oh, man, you're very generous that you're giving. That's great.
Question.
I'll take that.
Question 2. What 5-letter word becomes shorter when you add 2 letters to it?
Short.
Correct.
Yeah. I didn't think that. I thought that's too obvious. No, I got that one there. There we go. I'm
Okay.
down for scoring. I'm doing well.
What goes up but never comes down?
What goes up and never comes down? What goes up and never comes down? The years?
Your age.
Oh,
You know what? I'm not going to give it to you after
No.
I was a bit generous with my my firsts.
okay, so what month of the year has 28 days?
February. Oh no, all of them. All of them.
No,
all of them.
no
all of
points.
them.
No points.
Oh come on.
No, I'm not giving you.
As soon as I started saying it, I was like, oh no, I've jumped way too quickly.
Well, it has to be broken before you can use it.
Silence.
No, because you can't use silence.
In negotiations, you can.
No, you can't. No. An egg? Because you've
I'm-
got to use the egg. Come on.
I'm going to use
No, you're not. You're not. What is full of holes but still holds water?
sponge.
Damn. Okay, it's 1 to you, 2 to me. I'm going to say.
I'm taking. I'm taking.
You're not.
I'm personally taking that.
You can take it all you want. I'll hold no value to it. Very good.
I'll give you this win. I'll give you this victory.
So thank you, everyone, being involved or included. Please keep the comments and questions coming. If you know somebody, let's describe them. They're 25 to 30 and to buy their first home. This series is perfect for them. So you know that person at barbecue, you chatted with them and they talked about buying a property. You'd be nuts in my words echoing in your ears right now not to forward this to them ASAP.
I was going to say, and even if you've got a grandparent or a dad or mum that's in their 60s that have lived in the same property their whole life, the real estate industry has changed a lot, and it
Dramatically.
also may be worth giving them this for them to sort of just start wrapping their head around the industry.
Very good. All right, thank you. From the Sydney Property Muppets. See you next time. Thanks for dropping by.